parametric massing model. And it's going to be a simple twisting tower. And the second one is going to be a custom curtain wall panel family with visibility and parameter properties, so that you can also see how you can play around with those or customize them. Okay, so you're going to start with the massing exercise. I want everybody to try to do this. It's going to be a bit, again, technical, but it will be a good exercise for you. So go to New Conceptual Mass under Families and open up the mass template, the one I showed yesterday. Okay, so within the conceptual massing interface, what we have is basically our construction planes, where you could draw geometry. So in this case, we have two vertical planes which define kind of a fixed central axis, right? So this there will be a line here where we could fix geometry. So you can think of like where the core of a tower could be placed. And then we have horizontal planes, which are labeled as levels, where you can draw profiles if you're doing kind of a vertical loft. So in this case, if I want to draw any type of geometry here, I could go to the corresponding floor plan and start drawing my geometry here on the corresponding floor plan. Or you could do, what you could do is set a work plane. So the work planes are basically planes where you draw geometry. So in this case, if I choose set work plane and choose any geometry here, anything I'll be drawing would be directly drawn on that plane. So in this case, I'm drawing on the level. Let's see, if I go to set work plane again and choose this vertical plane and then do the same thing, now I'll be drawing on that plane, right? So I'm showing this in 3D so that you can see how setting the work plane affects what kind of input you put. But what we're going to do is kind of a simple tower. So you can think of like two levels, and there could be a height parameter in between them, right? So the height, we can control the total height of the tower, the twisting of the top profile, and dimensions of the profile edges and kind of corner fillets. It's going to be pretty simple, but it will still take some time to construct. So what I'm going to do is go to the south elevation first, and then create a level. And I'm going to drop in another level here. So it works the same way as you would draw levels in a project. So you would get a corresponding floor level, but this would also act like a construction plane. And then the next thing is go to the dimensions, create dimensions aligned, and create a vertical dimension in between both levels, level 1 and level 2, and choose this dimension and start defining it as a parameter. So I'm going to type in it as a height parameter, and everything I'm going to be doing in the parametric massing family is going to be an instance parameter, so that you can create variations of the conceptual mass and also toggle or change these parameters and play around with them. So it's going to be an instance parameter. You don't have to do reporting parameters in conceptual mass family. And my starting height, I'm going to start at, let's say one floor is going to be 10 feet or 12 feet. If we have 20 floors, let's say 240 feet. But this is going to be something that we can play around with later. So, okay. Now the next thing is I'm going to go to level 1 and start my construction here. So I'm going to choose plane, similar to how we've been constructing families. In order to define a profile here, I need to first define the reference geometry that's going to be attached to. So I go to plane, I'm going to do pick lines, and then let's say for the base profile I'm going to start with a dimension like 20 feet on both sides. So as you can see now, we are doing massing, so the units are mostly going to be in feet. So we're doing large objects now. And this thing I'm going to do, so the central axes are going to be fixed. So we first want to do the offset SQL, and then give an overall dimension for the vertical and horizontal parameters. Right, so these two are going to be equalized. The horizontal is going to be, let's call it, I wrote them on the board, so D1 and D2. You can give them any type of parameter name if you want, like width and depth. I'm going to do D1. It's going to be an instance. And the second one is going to be D2. And it's going to be instance parameter as well. And then what you want to do is a quick flex. So come in here, change one of these to 50 and see that it's working. Right? And if I go to level 2, I'll be able to see them as well. What I'm not seeing though is this vertical axis, because it's not intersecting with my level. So I'm going to just decrease my height for a bit. Like let's keep it at 154 now, so it's lowered and it intersects with the construction planes I'm drawing. So if I go to level 2, I'll be able to see the same construction planes as I did in the other floor plan, right? So I have level 2 and level 1. And if I look in 3D, I could also see where these dimensions are placed. So these guys are placed on level 1 where I've been drafting. And these are the vertical ones. So I didn't actually change the set work plane for these. So I could actually do it again. So let's do, I'm going to delete them for now. Let's go to level 1 again. I'm going to do set work plane. And you can specify work plane by name as well. I'm going to just do the same thing one more time, because they were drawn on upper level, so that we don't confuse them with the other stuff I'm going to draw there. Make sure you don't do double. So if I look in 3D, I guess it's the same. It just shows me the upper ones. It should be fine. Let's go undo. Yeah, it should be fine. Okay, and then I'm going to go to reference line. So for massing, normally we don't create model geometry, we create reference line, so that you can use reference lines to snap to other types of geometry, like other types of references, like reference planes. I'm going to switch to reference line and do set work plane and choose level 1 as my work plane, and just create a simple rectangle. So I go to rectangle, reference line, and then what I want to do is draw a rectangle here. And then it should automatically recognize and snap to that geometry that you have created, but try to flex it a little bit as well. If not, if you want to make sure, you can lock these relationships by using the tab key. You can iterate through each individual reference line segment and then move them out of the reference plane and move them back onto the reference plane and lock it. So I can do tier 2. No, I'm doing a reference line. These are all reference lines. And if I look in 3D, that's the profile I just came up with. This guy. Okay, then the next thing, I'm going to choose again reference line. Go to fillet arc. So you can fillet any of these two corners. So let's make one here. I'm going to make one on the other side. You can enter custom dimensions for now. Right, and this guy, choose the corner fillets and enable the dimensions. So after you select the corner fillet, just click on the dimension and it shows you the radius and activate them. And choose one of them and type in as a parameter. I had O1, let's call it fillet. And we can make it an instance parameter as well. And I'm going to choose all of them and give them the same fillet parameter, so they're all taking the same radius value. And now if I go to 3D, to type properties, I'm going to do a bit of flexing. So I do 40. That works. Fillet, let's do 5 feet. That works as well. So do a little bit of flexing to see that this profile is behaving the way you want it to. Yeah. The fillet, go to reference, choose fillet arc. You could also do fixed radius after you choose 2 lines, or you can manually enter 1, then activate the dimension. You want me to do it again? Choose the corner fillet, then it will show you, highlight you the dimension for its radius. Click on the dimension and enable it. So I'll do it again. So I had all of them done. Then you come in here, choose the arc, activate the radius dimension, and then you can choose this and define it as a parameter. Right? Can you use tab key to choose them individually? So if you do fillet arc, I come in here, choose this guy, and then choose this guy, and then I can do a fixed radius as well, so 5 feet. And click, and it will be placed. Then if I want to parameterize this, I will select it, choose the annotation, define it as a parameter, and apply it all around. Let me do it again. So I do here, I do one here, and I'm going to activate all of these radius dimensions. And then I'm going to select all of them, give them a fillet radius, and they will be all fixed to some parameter. Okay? So now I'm going to go to level 2. And when you select level 2, what you want to do is take off the underlay, because for the masking models normally it's beneficial to see the underlying profiles. I'm going to take out level 1 for now so that we don't snap to any other type of geometry. And what I want to do now is to create a profile that can rotate. And that profile, I'm going to start with using a reference line, because it's the same thing as the way we did rotation in the families. You need to use one-dimensional objects for rotation. So that will be a reference line in that case. So I'm going to do reference. Placement plane is already set to level 2. If not, you could do set work plane, go by the planes, and choose level 2, and hit OK. And my line is going to be, let's say, at an angle like this. And again, what we need to do is anchor the point, this point of rotation, to these 2 planes. So I'm going to click here, lock this relationship, click here again, lock this relationship, so that this guy can rotate, right? And I need an angle for rotation, so I go to create dimension, angular, and I specify an angle annotation here. So let's rename this guy as angle, or let's call it rotation. And it's going to be an instance parameter as well. Center reference planes to go up?
Well, I have the reference planes that I created in this.
So let's say we go to reference lines again. I'm going to do a rectangle, and just place a rectangle here. And then I want to rotate this to be aligned with this rotation line, right? So I'm going to rotate. You can type in RO for rotate, or you can go to modify, rotate this here. You want to move the rotation point by holding it and placing it to the center, and then draw a vertical line. Draw a vertical line and then rotate it to this line right here. Okay, I'll do it again. Go to reference line, rectangle. I want to draw a rectangle, just anything that doesn't snap to the grid, because we're going to dimension separately. It's going to be lined up with this line. Then I want to align it with this line. So I go to modify, rotate. I want to move the center of rotation to the intersection of both axes. Then I want to choose this vertical line and then line it up with this rotation line I created. Okay, so now this angle and this angle are the same. We haven't constrained them yet. I'm just placing geometry for reference. Then I'm going to go to reference line again and draw a perpendicular line here. So I'm going to go from this endpoint to this corner. So it will work like a double axis, like an L shape. And after that we need to do the annotation. So I go to create, aligned. I want to dimension this edge and make it equal. And I want to dimension this edge and make it equal. And after you do this, you want to rotate it a bit to see that the rotation is working with the profile. So I come in back here, enter 45, apply, and the rotation is working, but the dimension is not working yet. So we have to set up overall widths for this. Right, so that's 60. Let's set it up to 15. Right, the rectangle is being squeezed all the time. But the alignment works. That's what's important for rotation. So the profile is always aligned to this reference line. But I need to set up the dimensions. So to do that, I just go back here, create another overall aligned dimension for these two. I can set this to be, let's say, C1 instance parameter, and this guy to be C2 instance parameter. And let's try flexing. So I want C2 to be 40 and this guy to be 45. Now they are both flexing. And if I rotate now, they will be fixed as dimensions as well. And this is how it looks in 3D. So I have a bottom profile and a top profile, and both of them are parametrically constructed on their corresponding planes. Okay, I'll go to level 2 and wait for a bit. Go in 3D, choose this guy, and then this guy, and create form. So I could technically have multiple levels, multiple profiles, some different construction for all of them, but I'm doing the simplest one possible, right? And the nice thing is the form is flexible as well, so I can now increase my height, do a little bit of testing or flexing here. So change the rotation, change these dimensions, so I can make this 30, slimmer on top, this one 25. Right? Just a simple flexible model I can use. This guy's 40. Let's change the fillet to 10. So that radius increases as well. So it's kind of a ruled surface here. Because it's actually conic. There's a radius here and then it tapers to a flat geometry. So I got something like that. Sure. So what I did was I just did in 3D. My profiles are fine. They're parametrically working. I chose both of them. So I chose this guy, and just do create form. When you do create form, Revit does a loft between them. And since I'm using reference lines, the loft is snapping to the reference lines, and when you flex the reference lines, the loft will be updated as well. So I can do 5 here, 35, right? So I'm flexing it. Now, of course, the idea is you can, after you construct such an object, you can create a project file, architectural template, and you want to bring in this model back into the project, and you can make copies of it, right? Because now it's like a family. It has type properties, it has instance parameters, right? And I can change any of these and override the type parameters and kind of play around with them. So this can be 45, maybe height is 200, this guy is 40, this guy is 30, or let's say 35. And when I hit apply, I get another form. Let's make this guy 120 at 240. So I get that. Maybe this guy is at 0. Height is 200 again. 60. Well, it gets bulkier, so let's do 40. And this guy 40 as well. I get something like that. Maybe the C and D parameters actually are the same, so this could be 50. So I get something like that with just the corners rounded up. And that was the base profile I had. And you can go to an elevation view. You can also manually play around with some of these values with using these handles. But again, you will get decimals, right? So because you're doing a rounded flex. Let me change the heights. So let's make this 160. So maybe I have something like this. And I'm going to go choose one of the levels. Again, you can create an array. I'm going to create 20 more floors. Actually, let's do 25 array. And then I can choose all of these models. Go to mass floors. Choose all the levels I have. And I'll be able to extract the floor plates. Now, even though you extract the floor plates, this will still behave parametrically. So if I still flex this, let's say height is 240 and 40, the floor plates will still update, right? The mass floors will still be parametrically controllable. But if you turn them to be floors, they'll be created as objects that are disconnected from the parametric model. So if I go to architecture floor by face, and let's say I'm going to choose these and choose create floor. Now if I come back here and do any type of modification to this parametric mass, let's say 35 and 45 and 90, the floors I just created will be extracted from the previous parametric instance, right? So they will be disconnected. So the massing floors and the floor by face, those commands are different. The massing floors, they will be still parametrically controlled, but when you extract a floor plate from the face, that will be disconnected. So you should do that as the last operation. When you're happy with the configuration you have, you want to just extract them as a floor so that you can thicken them for visualization or for graphic representation to be used in your drawings, renderings, model. Okay? Sorry. So this is still a massing object. So the same way I did yesterday, when you go to massing and site, do in-place mass, you can generate your own reference planes here, model your geometry here, or you could also use the massing model environment and create a family that is parametrically controlled and bring into the project for use, right? So it's basically doing the same thing. And oh, sure. So let me go back. View. Yeah, you can. It will be created under families. Let's go to mass. The family one I just created is here, right? And I have, this is basically the representation for it. And there are some parameters associated with it too. Let me see. When you choose this guy, you see the instance parameters. Yes, yes. It's basically another like family object, right? But instead of making it a window panel or a door or a curtain wall panel, we're doing a massing model. So if I do it here, again, I need to set up my reference planes. I need to set up annotations. I mean, depends on how you want to do it. If you want to just model a quick generic ruled surface, you can do it in the project. It will be easier because you can also snap it to existing geometry, right? If there's a building facade here, maybe I can do an example later today. Like I can use the hotel facade and actually create a secondary surface outside of it using the existing geometry so that you can see how that works as well. But if you want to do something with constrained dimensions, you can just do it in the massing environment and bring it into the project for use, right? So what was your question, Erica?
I was saying since the recording is on now, can you do when you change the individual heights and
Oh, sure. Just so, I mean, you can just bring in another component. This is another family, right? I can bring another instance of these, and then any of them could be changed with these parameters because they're instance parameters. I can override them per instance, per copy. If they were defined as type parameters, then any change I do to one of them, it will take effect to all the copies, right? So this guy, like, I can make it 40, angle of rotation, again 90, this is 200. When I hit apply, it shows me the configuration with those parameters because this thing is parametrically controlled, right? You didn't specify them as instance parameters probably. So if you go to edit family, go to create properties family types. Here you want to choose these parameters. Go to modify and specify them as instance parameters. Sure. Here. Yeah. This is even easier. So this is something I don't think exists in other families. Actually, this is for massing family. Like this, that toolbar, that instance parameter checkbox is only here. I mean, I can make this more complex as well. Since this is already working, I can go back to my elevation. Let's lower level 2. We can add another level, add another profile, and then go between like two profiles if you want, right? So I could do another level, and this guy is maybe annotated from this. So now I can choose this guy to be, let's say, modify. I want this to be H1. And I'm going to define this as H2. This is H1. Rename this as H1. And this guy, I want it to be a new label, H2. And let's make it an instance parameter as well. So I choose it from here. So now I have level 3 too, right? So I can go to level 3, take out the underlay, and maybe I'm going to use the same construction planes just to make it simpler. I'm going to go to reference plane, reference lines, choose rectangle, and just add another profile here with no fillet. So now this will use D1 and D2 as well, right? So now my model is something like this. I have a profile here, a second profile, and a third profile. And if I do create form, they will be interpolated. Yeah, if you come in here, this surface is a ruled surface, right? So there's a profile here, another profile here. It's technically a quad, but it's twisting, right? So I can also make it diagonal if I wanted to. I could choose the mass and then come in here and do add edge. And if I choose this corner to this corner, I can define another edge so it can be triangulated. So I can do that here as well. Right? Because it's a ruled surface. It's parametric. It's twisting. So I can also add these edges. Now if I go to my properties, let's say this is 45, those edges will be maintained in the parametric mass family, right? And then that's how this geometry will be derived. So let's make these a bit larger. So maybe this guy is 60, this guy is 50. It's a bit bulkier in the middle. And it shows you what that does as well. So you can technically define any type of division to a massing edge and customize it. But since I'm doing parametric model, it's better to connect profile to profile. Because if I do another custom division here, it may not be controlled, right? Actually, let's try testing that. Let's go to add edge. I can only choose these corners in my massing. If I do set work plane, choose this guy. Let's try that. Well, it still doesn't allow me to choose those edges. It only allows me to choose corners. What if I add another profile? So if I go to add profile, I can extract maybe this profile. Then I should be able to choose these points. Let's see, I'm just doing, like, at this point, these parameters are not manually controlled, like parametrically controlled. They're manually override. So let's say I move that point. Can I connect it? Yes, I can triangulate this as well. But I want to see if I can, when I do 60, yeah, that profile is not controlled, right? It only affects here, and now this is discontinuous because there is no parametric control for this guy if you do that type of manual override. So tomorrow I'm going to show you how you can also use these surfaces to derive patterns on them and do adaptive components, because most of these are three-dimensional surfaces. They won't behave like curtain walls. Curtain walls are two-dimensional, or like they're at an angle, maybe tilted. But when you have a ruled surface like this, you need to do a parametric element for it. So like if I want to work with this surface, there's divide surface option. I can apply a pattern of division to it. But then as you can see, these these tiles are not regular tiles, right? Most of them are distorted or three-dimensional. So the type of element that we can generate here, the parametric tile component we can generate here, is modeled under an adaptive component because it needs to be a fully flexible model. So the curtain wall panels that we are doing, they are mostly two-dimensional or three-dimensional constructions. So they use angular, perpendicular construction planes. But for this, you need a smarter object. And that's what we're going to look at today, tomorrow. Okay? But for the final, what I would expect you to is, like, if you're working with a parametric massing model, just use it to drive like either floor slabs or some sort of interpolated geometry, right? Just keep it simple. Because if you try to then start making divisions or patterns here, it becomes really hard to patch the corners, make it something continuous, and make it into a continuous treatment. So instead, if you do like just slabs out of it, it looks a lot cleaner and better. Okay? And then we can also do like another type of surface for an existing geometry inside the project as well. So if I can open my hotel. Let's do that actually. So two things. I know these dimensions for the hotel, right? I can get these dimensions. 150 feet and 8 inches, and this guy is 65 something. Let's do it again. 65 something, yeah, it's like there's a decimal. So I could either extract the whole volume dimensions of my massing, do it in a conceptual mass, right? I can do like an extruded mass and bring it in here and use it for the surface so that I can override the geometries. You guys want to see that? Huh? Or you can also model it here. I could basically go to massing and site, do an in-place mass. Let's call it surfaces. Now my massing is enabled. I'm going to do work plane, set work plane as my entrance level. Hit OK. And do rectangle, reference line. Let's do the simple extrusion first. So I do rectangle. I want to get the full massing of the hotel. I can lock these as well to the building. And then this, I'm going to do create form. Let's do create form. That's the extrusion. Actually, let me go to the 3D, take out the section box so I see the full thing. And I want to go to an elevation. Let's see. And the top offset for my massing. I'm going to use the tab key to choose the top surface. And then I want to move that value or line it up with, let's do align if that works. So I want to align to this plate, this. Doesn't like that. Let's see. Positive offset. If I do it at 33, let's see. That controls the height of the extrusion. But I need to make this 44 because I have negative 11 as well. So now I basically have a box that represents my massing, right? And then if I want to work on this viewport, I can just go to temporary height isolate. I'm going to finish the mass. And if you have a hard time choosing it, you can select everything inside the viewport, go to filter, check none, and there's only one massing object, so you can just choose the mass, hit apply, hit OK. Now my massing is chosen, and I'm going to do temporary height isolate and do isolate element. So now I can work with this. Now it didn't use this edge for some reason, so let's do edit in place. I want to choose this edge as well and do create form. And I can also extract this guy. We want it to be 44. Right, so I have 4 surfaces that I can use for the massing. Now I want to come in here. Let's say edit in place. I want to choose this surface, or I could simply choose everything, and we could do add edge, add profile. It doesn't, let me see if I have to do another reference line. Let's do another top reference plane. If I choose this edge, create form, it does that. No. Okay. So let's do this again. Create form. Okay, I want to do this extrusion, and the top offset I want to do 44. Hit apply. So now I have a 3-dimensional mass. I don't know, I probably deselected one of the edge profiles for the reference line, so that's why the extrusion was missing this face, and it didn't create the top face. You want to choose all the profiles, all the corners, geometry, and extrude it. And then after that, I could do the same thing we did. Basically, I could do, let's see, if I choose this guy, dissolve. I don't have add profile, add edge. Let's do finish mass. For some reason it doesn't show me the add profile. Let's do unlock profiles. They were locked, obviously, apparently. If you do unlock profiles, then you can add a profile, and you can add, let's say, horizontal ones here. And then you will be able to choose them and edit them as well. So now I have multiple profiles that are going to define the surface. I can come in here, choose any of them, do edit profile, and then replace them with like an undulated surface. Right, so I could go to a level where I could draft it. So I can do spline, come in here, maybe I want to do something like this. Hit check. So that surface is now bulging. And I can come in here, edit profile, delete this guy, go to a view, where I can see it, choose the spline. Maybe these two are like edit. Let me add one more. I could also do the bottom. Choose this profile, edit profile. I need to add it as a profile, so let's do, choose the massing, edit in place. Add profile. Failed to add profile. I think it's because this is there's a reference line there that defines the extrusion. So I can change it. If I had done it as model line, let's see, if I deselect this as reference line, hit apply. Okay, now I can extract it as geometry line, I think. So if I can come in here, no, add profile, well, it gives me that. Let's choose something. Let's do this. Right, so I have some undulation going for that surface. And then I can do finish mass. Choose the massing, go to mass floors, choose all the references, and I can get my floor plates, right? And if I want to make them into floor slabs, I could do floor architectural, architecture floor by face. Choose these. I don't need the bottom one. Create floor. I'm going to reset, hide, isolate. And in this viewport, I can go to visibility and settings and take out, let me see, the mass. We want to do, you can choose the mass and do hide category. So that element will be hidden and you would have the slabs extracted from it, right? So mine is pretty subtle. I didn't do something extravagant. Basically, I got some stuff out of it, so I also have this as negative. So I can go to that corresponding floor level, and I'll see that floor plate there, right? So I can push this these surfaces back, maybe define that as balcony space, remodel it. Okay? So I would actually say maybe you don't go inside, but you always move outside, right? So you define kind of a boundary for yourself to define the balcony space. And whatever you're doing there, it will be like pushed to the outside. So actually, if I reset this, let me see. If I isolate category, I should be able to stretch this a bit. So if I choose this side, edit in place. this surface. Let's see, can we move it? No, I need to move these corner points or the edges. Yeah, so now I have profiles, so I can move the corners as well. But it's a bit tedious, so I would say, like, I kept the massing lined up to the original. But what I should have done is probably do the profile as like extrusion, so keep going outside of the model, so that we will see the balconies a bit better. So I'm trying to give it a bit more space here now by moving these. And since these are points, I can basically use them. So this guy, and why can't I select that guy? Let's do 70. Well, I will have to redo this probably. This takes a bit of practice, I gotta admit. Actually, the other option is let's try another version. Let's try go to level 1, choose massing and site again, in place mass. And we want to do reference planes. So let's say we define reference planes for us. So I can do one reference plane here, another one here, another one here. So these are like sections to control the geometry of the massing, let's say. And if I go in 3D, let's do finish mass. What happened? Do we have reference planes? Let me do it in a new file. Massing and site, in place mass. Reference plane. Let's say I set up some reference planes. Then basically I can draw profiles on each reference plane. If I go to set work plane, pick a plane, I could choose this profile, open it up in an elevation view, and then whatever I draw here, so say reference line, I want to do a spline, that's the reference plane. I could go like any way I want, right? That's basically the profile drawn at that reference plane. Then I'm going to go to level 1. That reference line is drawn here. I can do another one, reference line, set work plane, pick a plane, come in here. Let's open this up in west, so I could see the other profile I just drew. And I can maybe go a bit differently, right? So I could go like this. Now that one is drawn on the side of it. Level 1, reference line, set work plane, pick a plane, this guy, elevation west. And this time I see both of the profiles. I can hide one of them manually if I want, but let's do something like this. So it's like an envelope basically, right? And then last one, reference line, set work plane, pick a plane, this guy, elevation west, open, and the last one I'm going to do another spline, if I go in 3D, I can choose these profiles and do create form to create a loft between them. Right? I have a surface. Now I can technically, I'm not sure if I could extract mass force from it. Let me see if this works. I can't because it's not a closed volume. That's kind of the trouble using this massing tool. So I need to patch up these edges. So let's see if, can I actually do that? Let's do reference line. If I choose this profile and this profile, no. These two, create form, patch that surface, and then I can draw another reference line here. Set work plane to be, let's say the other edge. Pick a plane, open it in 3D, and I can draw another reference line here. And then when I choose that profile geometry, if I do create form, it shows me if I want an extrusion or a single plane. I can do the single plane. And let's see if I can, if I could actually, if I do finish mass and then do mass floors, well, it still doesn't do it. Let me see. This intersects, so I need also close the bottom, I think. Huh? I think it still needs a volume. It does plane volume intersection to calculate. So that's why it makes it a bit tricky. Like also, I mean, I can still use the surface. Basically, you could choose under edit in place, I can choose the surface and divide it up, right? And then control the amounts of divisions on it. So let's say we want to have 20 points here and 6 points in the other direction. And then I can make an adaptive component, a louver component, that goes through these points, which we could do tomorrow, and then basically make them into like a parametric louver system. And then when I do finish mass, it will be applied as geometric objects. And then you will see them when you draw your plans. You will see their cuts, right? How those objects intersect. But let me see if I could do. Okay, if I choose this edge, and this edge, what if? Yeah, there are some limitations for it, I think. Let's do edit. Let's take out the UV grid. What if I do set work plane, go to level 1, and draw a reference. Let's go, can I snap here, snap here. If I do 3D, let's try to draw that line and see if we could patch it up. Level 1. Doesn't even snap to the end point. To be honest, I didn't try doing this yet. This is like, it will be a blobby shape, and I don't want you to do blobby shapes anyway. I just want you to do something smooth and simple. Because it also depends on what you want to extract. If you want to do just an envelope type of surface and do like louver treatment on it, this will be a good fit. But if you want to extract also floor slabs out of it, it has to be a mass. It has to be a closed volume. And I mean, there are multiple ways we can go about doing it, I would say, but you need to start with an extrusion, with a volume to manipulate it. And that's kind of the problem, I think. What if I do, let's see, go to level 1. What if my first profile is actually a closed profile, and then I extrude it and then section it up? Let's try doing that. So work plane, pick a plane. So my first profile, I have a spline. It's kind of an outline, and then a line. And if I go to 3D and choose this and do create form, make it into an extrusion, right? And then if I choose this guy, unlock profiles, add a profile, I could add a section and add another section here. I think this would work. So now I can do, let's see, divide path, and can we modify the control points? Intersects with yeah, I can move the whole thing. Let's try first doing the mass floors to see if it's working. So I do finish mass. It's already working with the mass floors. So it needs to be a volume basically to extract the mass floors. So technically, if I go back, I had the first profile. Then if I do another one, let's do one here and open up in west elevation. So I could also do that as close polyline. I mean, as a close line. So this is maybe the second guy. And then I'm going to close it up. This guy, I want it to be a reference line as well. Right, so I'm doing profiles for the volume basically, for the volume loft. And let's go to level 1 again. Do set work plane, pick a plane. Open up an elevation again, reference line, splines. Let's do another one here. And if I go to 3D, I can close it up. Let's see, west elevation. Oh, didn't take it. Level 1, it was this guy. Set work plane, pick a plane. Choose the reference plane, open up in elevation. And this has to be a reference line as well. So now if I choose all these profiles and do create form, I'll get a lofted surface. And I can do finish mass, and I can extract its floor slabs as well. So let's say it's I'm just doing this to show you the interpolation. So let's do an array. Let's do a few more. Mass floors. Yeah. It needs to be a volume to do the intersection. Okay. And I'm going to open up a generic model, curtain wall panel family again. Let's work with that. Open up an exterior view. If you remember, this was the boundary of my panel. So I'm going to start with a simple extrusion. I want everybody to do this one. Okay, just stop what you're doing. Just try to do this example. It's going to be fun. Curtain wall panel. Create a simple extrusion. Draw a rectangle. You don't have to dimension this. You just want to snap it to the edges and then check. So you get like a simple extrusion to begin with. So this side is the exterior side, so I want the extrusion to go towards the exterior side. Right? Simple extrusion. That is snapping to the boundaries of the curtain wall panel. Then I'm going to create a reference plane that is offset from this locked axis. Let's give it our first parameter for thickness. Annotate, aligned. Let's make this guy thickness. It's going to be a type parameter so that my wall thickness is uniform. It's going to hit OK. And I want to lock the thickness of that extrusion to that. This is what I have in 3D. Just a simple extrusion. And make sure when you go to the exterior view, when you flex your model, it flexes. You don't have to annotate these at all because it's going to snap to whatever the wall panel is. Now the next thing, thickness, the extrusion thickness. The next thing I want to do is create a frame around this that is in void form. So I go to create, reference plane, pick lines, offset value 2 inches. It's going to be parametric, so it's going to be a parameter, so we could change it later. So I'm going to draw these profiles. Actually, let's see. No, we still need these offsets. Let's keep these offsets, but increase the offset value a bit. Like make it like this. And then annotate it. So I need one here, one here. So they should be offsetting from the edges of the curtain wall family. So I call it as offset, edge offset. And that's going to be a type parameter again. Now what I want to do is draw a sweep around the edge as a negative profile. So something that takes out this portion. You guys see that? This corner? So I want to draw a profile there and take it out of the geometry. So let's go to create. I want to do a sweep. I'm not going to do sketch path because we already have a path, which is the geometry. I'm going to do pick path. And then I'm going to pick these 4 edges. I'm going to hit check. Now I want to draw a profile somewhere. So I'm going to do edit profile. And the same thing like the massing family. It asks me to choose a reference view to see the profile. I'm going to choose floor plan. So this is the exterior side. This is where the sweep is located, the profile of the sweep. So I need to draw something that goes inside the solid form and takes it out because it's going to be a void form, right? So I'm going to come in. Let's go in by 2 inches. Actually, we could go even more. Let's do 4 inches. And then I could even make an arc. Let's go down This guy is 5 inches. You can make it anything you want. You can make it into a polygonal shape like this. Okay, option 1. Or you could do start and radius. Huh? No, this is just a profile. I'm doing just... They are type. So I'm going to do start and radius arc. So let's do something like this. Huh? I mean, this could work. Well, there's going to be another panel here next to it. So what I could do, let's do this guy 6 inches. And I want to do a center ends arc. Do this arc. Radius at 5. This is a perfect arc. And then I can move it to the right side by 1. Go in here by like another inch. Down another inch. Right. Another inch up. Let's delete this. And do another one. Yeah. So maybe my profile is something like that. Okay. Now I check. I have model line sticking out, so this should be okay. Check. Check again. Now in 3D, I have that profile here. This is the solid extrusion. This is the profile. And what I want to do is choose that as void. And to see the operation, I need to do a cut. So I go to cut geometry, choose the solid form, then choose the void form. And I get something like that. Now it's actually looking like a frame. Sure, I'm going to change the profile anyway. I don't like it. I'm going to go to edit sweep. So for the sweep, I did pick path. I picked the corners, the edges of the profile I want to use. Then you basically do, you basically draw a profile. My profile was here. And let me see, edit. So I just drew a profile here, so I'm going to change it actually. Let's make it a bit more simpler. So I'm going to go in 2 inches and maybe connect this point here. And once I have the profile and the path defined, I hit check and check to the profile. So you exit the profile, edit, and then check to create the sweep. Now I basically have a 3D extrusion and a 3D, like a void extrusion as well. And I went in and chose the solid void configuration of this extrusion to be void, so that we won't see it as an object in the family, and it becomes orange. But in the family, sometimes like the void geometry is not directly taken out from the solid, so you need to define a cut. So I go to cut geometry, choose the solid object first, then choose the void object to define that operation. Okay? So I'm making it into a frame basically. Yeah.
What did you select to change the solid void?
Choose the geometry. Under properties, there is solid and void option. Say what? I'm going to go to the exterior view. What I want to do is use this offset and define a secondary offset here, and then make a sweep blend. So there's also swept blend, which takes a path and two profiles, so that we can kind of have this kind of extrusion in there. So it's kind of a simple loft, basically. So I'm going to do another reference plane, and this one, let's do 2 inches, and I'm going to offset these planes here and create an annotation. So the first offset control is going to control where the outer profile is going to be, and the second one is going to be controlling the offset for the inner profile. So I do one dimension here, another one here, another one from the middle axis. So this window is going to be located on one side of the panel. I'm going to choose all of them, define it as inner offset parameter, and I'm going to make it into an instance parameter so we can vary it. Let's make the edge offset into an instance parameter as well. Now, what I want to do is create a sweep blend void form. I'm going to go to an elevation view first. Let's go to the left elevation. So this is my how my panel looks on the side view. I'm going to do create swept blend. And for this one, we could either pick a path or sketch a path. If I do sketch a path, I could simply choose any type of horizontal axis here, or even define this line here and lock that relationship. So what this does is it defines a path, which is highlighted as magenta, and it places 2 planes on 2 ends of the path, where you would draw 2 profiles and sweep them. I'm going to hit check to the path, and then now I have 2 profile options where I could select 2 profiles. So I'm going to do select profile 1, edit profile, open up in view, let's say exterior. I'm going to do a rectangle. I'm going to draw the outer one first, which snaps to the edge offset lines. Lock this relationship and make sure that it's drawn in the right place. So this actually, the first profile is the inner offset, so it's going to be the inner side. So I need to change that now. So if you can see, this is the inner surface of the panel, this is the outer surface of the panel. So the profile I drew is supposed to be profile number 2. So if I go to the exterior view, is there a way to change which profile I'm drawing? Actually no, so that's fine. I can unlock these. Now that I know I'm drawing to the inside, I can move this to the inner offset reference planes and lock those relationships. This guy, lock it as well. I'm going to hit check and do select profile 2, edit profile, and do the outer profile and lock these relationships as well. And so I input the inner profile. This is the outer profile. And when I hit check, both profiles are included. The path is there. I hit check again. Now I have a sweep blend extrusion inside my panel. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to choose this extrusion, define it as void, and choose the full solid form, cut, choose that guy. Let's do it again. Choose solid form, cut. Let me see. This guy, cut, this guy. We need to subtract it. should I do the cuts together? This should work, the cut. But if it doesn't work, I can go back and do the cuts together. I'm trying to see if it's not that one. It's not that one. Cuts this geometry. Should I do a solid form and then do a cut? Okay, now it worked. There was some problem with the cutting. But try to choose this rectangle. The first extrusion rectangle when you're cutting. Choose this guy first and choose the void extrusion. We did. So now I have a panel like this. Okay? And this is how it looks like in 3D. And let's do a bit of flexing. So thickness, inner offset. Let's do the thickness. The thickness is the depth of the panel. So edge thickness, I can do 8 inches. That controls this thickness of the frame. So I could do, let's say 5. It's really thin. Inner offset, I could do 6 inches. And it controls the offset for this guy, so it's working. Okay? The next thing I'm going to do is go to reference level. So that's the section of my panel. Right? I'm going to model something here like a glass panel and create a parametric visibility parameter for it. So I'm going to create, let's go to exterior view, create extrusion, a simple rectangle here, lock it into these planes, hit check, go to reference level, just give it a nominal thickness, like, technically I could have done the panel a bit deeper, this extrusion profile a bit deeper, or like create a secondary in between panel here, plane here, have this extrusion go to that, and then have a solid extrusion go down, so that I can place a glass in between there. I'm just going to do this to show you how you can also set a visibility parameter. So now this guy is going to be glass material, and if I want to have some panels have glass and some panels don't, I can create a visibility parameter for this, which is this element here. So under graphics there's visible component. If I click here, I can set up a parameter here, so I can choose it glass panel visible, make it into an instance parameter, and this is a boolean like true false parameter, so it says yes no, so it's kind of is this panel visible or not type of parameter, and it will just give us a checkbox where we can control its visibility. And the other thing is we can also control material properties. So let's say we want to create 2 materials. So I go to add parameters. So I'm going to first set up the material properties. I go to parameters, add. Actually, let's do it this way. Let's first import this and see how it behaves. Then we can come back and customize it further and then update it in the project. How about that? So I'm going to save this, call it my extruded panel, open up a new project, create another curtain wall, go to an elevation, curtain grid, let's make some divisions. And then I'm going to bring in this guy. So I do load into project. I think it's project 3. Go to 3D. choose the curtain wall system, edit type, curtain panel, from none, I'm going to choose extrude panel, hit apply, hit OK. Now I have something like this. With glass in between, right? And it's basically fitting to whatever the division is for curtain wall system. So I could further divide it up. So I could choose my curtain wall system, add another curtain wall, curtain grid. Let's make a horizontal one. And then I could also remove some of these segments. Add remove segments, and I can remove some of them. Right? So it will basically fit into whatever the division is. Yeah? The thickness of the wall? So I set up an offset parameter. Remember the thickness? It's a type parameter. So if I choose one of these panels, go to edit type, the thickness is here. I can make it 5 feet if I want. Right? Because it's the sweep blend profiles are snapping to that geometry. Right? So it could be more of a volumetric panel. And if you look at it in the plan view, you can also see how that geometry behaves. Now what I want to further do is show you, I can choose some of these, and if I go all the way down, the glass panel visible parameters here as a visibility instance parameter, if I uncheck it for some of these panels, the glass panel will be removed. It won't be visible. Right? So I can do this type of override manually anywhere I want. And the other thing is maybe we want to have different colors for these. So I can choose one of the families, go to edit family. I'm going to set up some material parameters here. So go to properties, new parameter, call it panel material, the first one. It's going to be a type parameter so that all the copies of this family use that as the panel material. The type of parameter is going to be material. I'm going to hit OK. So it's now defined as by category. I'm going to add another one. I'm going to call it surface finish. I'm going to make this into materials and finishes again. Another material parameter. But this is going to be an instance parameter. I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to hit OK again. Now this guy, the solid form, I wanted to use not a generic thing, but link it to panel material. Hit OK. And I want to maybe apply a custom material to a surface, single surface, not to a geometric object. So I could go to paint. And when I have paint selected, I could choose surface finish as my paint material. Surface finish, and then apply it to these 4 surfaces. Now it doesn't have anything selected yet, so I'm not seeing anything. But if I come in here, surface finish material, if I choose anything, let's say this default, and give it a color, let's see. Let's do that again. What it actually has, and if I do realistic, yeah. So I'm applying a material for the whole thing and applying a material to a single surface. So those are 2 parameters basically. And I'm going to load this into the project. Now, if I choose this guy, go to edit type, the panel material is located under type parameters, right? Because it's going to change all the copies of the, it's going to affect all the copies of the panel. So if I give it a material here, let's say copper, If I switch to consistent colors, let's do realistic. Now the frame got copper material, but the interfaces didn't, because the interfaces are looking for an instance parameter still, right? So I can choose, let's say, this guy, and the surface finish parameter is going to be located here, so I can link it to something. Let's say let's say a paint. Do we have paint? Let's say parking stripe. So I can override instance parameters as well. So now I can even choose a bunch of these panels, give it a single color, make color gradients, right? It's a bit of a manual hustle, but still, like, without showing you more complex stuff on how to automate this process, you can do it this way. You can choose individual ones and assign a different material for it. Huh? Yeah, you can do. You should be able to. Yeah. Right? So I can basically control, like, specify material for type property, where I want to see it for all the panel copies, or I want to use individual material properties for individual panels, right? So I can make variations. And the advantage would be, if you have already groups, like, let's say I want to use this for the hotel. Do you guys have time? Okay. Let's open the hotel again. So for instance, this guy, edit group. Now I can replace this thing, right? I can replace it with a curtain wall system. I can delete that, wall, curtain wall, Molly curtain wall here. Now, for the curtain wall panel type, I need to bring in this the guy I had. Let me save these. So let's see, I was in level 1. I'm going to bring in insert load family, desktop, extruded panel. Now if I choose, let's go to an elevation view for that curtain wall family, for the curtain wall. So I go to elevations. Is it south elevation? I think so. It's this guy. Yeah, because it's a curtain wall panel family. Zoom out. I'm going to hit cancel for now, because it's zoomed to fit. It's really slow for some reason. Okay. I'm going to go to edit group. Delete the wall. Delete this guy as well. Exterior facade. If I go to the plan view, curtain wall. Where's that guy? It's here. Wall, curtain wall. I'm going to put the curtain wall here. And that guy is going to have some divisions. So let's say, go to the elevation view again. and do curtain grid. I'm going to give it some divisions. It's a bit slow. And then I can choose the system edit type. I want to do the extruded panel. I guess it didn't bring in. I'm going to check none for now. Let's bring it in. Extruded panel, level 1. Do we have that curtain wall panel now? Extruded panel. Hit apply, hit OK. Now let's place it here. It's already previewing it to me. And this guy, I want to flip it to the other side and maybe use it for the outer surface. So it goes from here to here. Or maybe it's like that. Right? So I have a single panel there. And the glass is going to be huge. But just for the sake of visualizing it. So maybe I can go to south elevation. That's this panel. So I can further divide it up if I add more curtain grids. So I could add one here, another one horizontally, maybe another one here, and then I can also delete some of these. So if I choose this guy and then remove segment, I can remove this one. And let's do finish. Now if I do finish, all the groups will be updated. Right? Now all the groups got that panel system for their facade. Okay? Now this guy had another curtain wall, which is another copy of another unit type, so I need to update that as well. But the thing is, if I make some color variation here as well, it will be applied to whatever the other groups are. So I can basically finish this whole facade, make it playful using 4 or 5 groups, and just designing their own individual facades. And if they're mirrored, that will also help with the variations and configurations, right? So you can approach the design of the facades this way. Any questions about this process? Do you guys understand how to approach this now a bit better? Better? Okay. So this is what I'm asking for, for next assignment. I mean, for the assignment you're currently working on. So I just want to see what you're going to present as like a mock-up, right? So it could be a small wall, maybe 2 or 3 units. And you show me whether you have like really large panels, extruded stuff, or like louvers, things that rotate, things that are colorful. And if you can do it for a small portion of the building, you can do it for the whole facade, right? Because the whole building could be grouped. Or you can make really long curtain wall panels. So the unit plans could be grouped separately, and then when I do my curtain wall, I could do one big curtain wall for the whole facade, and I can do divisions for it, right? Taking into consideration where the axis, where the grid lines are. And then I can basically apply one single system to all of it. Alright? Say what? Yeah, I mean, this one is I think what was it, the student dorms. Did you guys look into that project? By the way, I want you to send me within your submission which precedent you choose. So the sooner you send me that email, the better for you as well. So I can see what you are going for, and I can do tutorials that will help you to do that, to do those type of facades. Okay? So it's fine if there's some overlap among you. It was under announcement, I think. Precedents. It's this one, cubic student housing. Like this guy. I just made this facade panel. And I can make colors, additional secondary panels. Do you guys know Mansilla Tunon? It's one of their most favorite, popular buildings, this facade as well. Right, so you can make something like this too. Well, this is an auditorium, but as you can see, it can also work for housing as well, if your windows are large enough. Or maybe the whole panel is the whole unit. You can make it that big too. So it could be something precast and installed and modular. And if you don't want to do anything like this, you want to go for something conventional, then you have to execute it really well. That'll be my constraint for you for the final. So if you're shy about doing all this parametric stuff, you're not comfortable, or you're finding it as a style issue. I had students complain about it in the past. I'm not forcing you to do something blobby, something that you don't like doing personally. Then you can show me what you want to do, and then we can define something that is a bit customized for you. Okay? It's all up to you.